Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone doing? It is so good to be here on today. I wasn't able to be on last week, but I'm happy to be on today. I was in conferences all day because it is International Women's Day. So I am extremely happy to have had an opportunity to come on today. I definitely want you to share this broadcast. I am Dr. Heather Henry, Master of Crisis Therapy. I believe in helping individuals to deal with their issues so that they can come to the surface and to deal with them now. Listen, I want you to please let me know where you are coming in from. Again, this is Deliverance Hacks with Dr. Heather Henley. I appreciate you guys coming on. We are talking all things deliverance. Please drop in the comments in the stream where you are logging in from. I love to be able to acknowledge that you are here. I need you to do me a favor. Take a second, take a moment, and I just want you guys to share this broadcast. Share this with your friends. We will not be on long, 30 minutes to be exact. I am late today again because I've been in meetings all day, but I am so happy and I was determined to get on, even if I was a few minutes late. So happy to have you guys on. So listen, we've been talking deliverance, and week after week, I've been just talking about just some different things as it pertains to deliverance. A couple weeks ago, we were just talking about some awareness. We were talking about things all to do with awareness. We were talking about just deliverance being your birthright. Just giving some back story. We were talking about intergenerational trauma, and I've gotten so many questions from individuals concerning just this intergenerational trauma, where it just looks at a multi-generational outlook that gets passed down from those who directly experience an incident or some type of behavior. And it's typically people in your house. And I gave some great examples about even things in my house. Growing up, we talked about a generational curses. We talked about just trauma itself. We talked about all of those things. And we just talked about how it's important for you to understand that deliverance truly is your birthright. It is your birthright. We were designed to live and walk in a place of freedom. We are designed for cycles to break, and the goal is for us to break those cycles. But how we break cycles is by not continuing to remain silent. And a lot of us, we remain silent in some of the situations and or circumstances that we have experienced in our lives. And so in order for us to truly maintain this level of deliverance or mental awareness, or being able to change how we look at situations and circumstances that have occurred, we want to be able to break that level of silence. So we've been talking about those things that we need to do in order for us to get or move into that next place or the next space of time that we want to enter into. So we have to make sure that we understand just some things that are going on, or things that are happening with us that may keep us in a place of stagnation. I'm going to say that again. It is important for us to understand and recognize what are some of those things that possibly may be keeping us in a place of stagnation. So, some of the things that I want to talk about is that it is important that we understand that first and foremost, the heart is wicked. It is wicked and deceitful. Jeremiah 17:9 says, above all, that we should guard our heart. And why do we think that this is important? These things are important because everything that we see, we experience, things that happen, it all comes in through deception, because it deceives us of what is actually going on or what is really happening. Anytime you've experienced a level of trauma or anything like that, it causes you to believe sometimes that you're still experiencing something that you've already overcome. That's where that decision comes in. So it is important to realize exactly what's going on or what's happening in this moment. So we're going to just kind of talk about some of those things, and I want to be able to pose some questions to you just concerning what is happening or what is going on. So when we're talking about deception, these are, when you experience things that are positive or negative in outcome, it stays in your mind, but it also connects to your heart, right? Deception is the act, you guys, of causing someone to believe something is true that is really false, or something that's invalid. And so what we have to know and do is that we want to know what in our lives is actually invalid and what is false, right? And so I understand that when we're looking at deception, so many things occur. But when we're looking at situations, we have to be able to pull out the things that are valid and the things that are invalid. So we have to be able to pull those things out. The next thing is that when we're talking about deception, it is the act of causing someone to believe something is true that is really false, or it's a trick, usually by way of manipulation that causes you to be blind to the truth, even if it is directly in front of your face. That's what deception does. It's a trick. It's manipulation. So the question I would ask you is, how many of you have been in places of deception? How many of you have been in those places of deception? How many of you have been in places where you know that the information or things that are happening is not necessarily true, but because you really want it to work, right? Because you overlook some of those indicators or those red flags that happens that individuals experience, because you overlook all of those things, you sometimes turn your head to things that are happening, to the deception, things that are occurring in your life. And so when these things happen, because we've all been there, listen, we have been in places of manipulation. We've been in places of deception. We've been in places where we see things happening, but we're blind to it. Or we think that we can make these changes, or we think that things will be different the next time. All of these are ways of deception. But what is important to know or understand about deception is that these are all considered doorways or entry points, you guys, that grant just access into our lives, no matter what it is. Deception, things that are deceitful, they are doorways. And I can be transparent here and tell you that there definitely was times in my life where I actually was in positions where I just overlooked circumstances, situations, things that were happening around me, because I just wanted, sometimes to be there, be in situations. I've dated people in the past that I knew that things were not the best for me. I knew that things were happening or going on, but I stayed. Why? Number one, because I was in a broken place. But because I stayed and endured even jobs as well as relationships. And listen, these relationships don't have to be romantic. It can be friendships. Because I stayed in these type of situations, it opened up doorways. And so then, because these doorways were open, I then gave legal right for the enemy to come in and just kind of wreak havoc over my life. Now, when we're talking about doorways, I want to give you guys some language, some definition to doorway. So a doorway is an opening. Doorways are openings, an opening that a door closes. Okay, let me say that again. Doorway, it's the opening that a door closes. So as you can see behind me, it is my door. The door is closed. But if I open, it now becomes a doorway. All right. And so a doorway, you all, it is an entrance into a room. Now, rooms are important, right? When we're talking about doorways, it is important for us to know and understand that doorways allow entrance into a room. So currently I am in my office. The door is closed. But if I open the door, you now gain entrance into my hallway, which is another room. Then, which will give you entrance into my living room or my bedroom. So I want you to understand doorways. I want to really be clear about this as we are working through some of these hacks of deliverance. So we already said that deception can be positive or negative outcomes. These are, things, experiences are positive or negative, right? And they remain in your mind, things that happen. And we also talked about deception and just those different things that we encounter as it pertains to deception. So when we're talking about a doorway, it is the opening that a door closes. It is an entrance into a room. Now, in Greek, the word door or gate is ovpa, OVPA. And the definition is a portal or entrance. Now, when we are talking about a doorway, it is an entrance or a portal. Now, when you are dealing with deception or in a place of deception, which is manipulation, and if we were to take it even a step further, individuals that use manipulation is definitely using a level of witchcraft, right? You are manipulating a person to get the things that you want. And some of you actually do that even currently in your relationships. You use manipulation and manipulative tactics in order to get the things that you want. So what happens is it becomes entry points. And an entry point, you all, is a particular place where a person or thing can enter something somewhere. I'm going to say that again. An entry point. It is a particular place where a person or a thing can enter something somewhere. So entry points can be anywhere, you guys. It is just a place where you can obtain entrance, where you can come into. And it is something that helps you start an activity, an entry point. Now, when we are thinking about, you guys, deliverance, or when we are thinking about some of the things that we experience, when we are thinking about traumas, and last week we were talking about intergenerational trauma. We were talking about just trauma itself. We were talking about a generational trauma, and then we were talking about generational curses or sin. Listen, entry points. It is something that helps you start an activity. And so when you are thinking about things that you endure and going through, you have to go back and say, what was the entry point? What was the activity that started it all? What was the activity that you allowed to gain access? What was the person that you allowed to have a entrance into a room? What was that thing that you allowed to enter into? It was a doorway. And so you have to be able to think about those things when we're talking about deliverance being your birthright. Because if there's a doorway open, in order to come into my house, I have to invite you in, which means now I'm giving you legal authority to come into the house. And so it is important that we understand these things when we're talking about doorways, openings. It is the opening that a door closes. And it is an entrance into a room, into a space, into something. So these are important. So then as we're talking about doorways, we now have to think about a portal. And so I'm talking about this because I want you all to understand how things enter in and how they are able to enter in and take root, how we give things access, because nothing can happen to us without our permission. I'm going to say that again. We have to be delivered from our choices and decisions. And so in my life, nothing has happened without my knowing it. I just chose to stay. I just chose to deal with it. So it is important that we understand that when we're talking about this deliverance, we have to be delivered from our choices and decisions, because nothing happens really without your permission in some instances. Now, there are some instances, when there's an aggression or an assault, that these are things that are beyond our control. But in some cases, in some things that we do in life, we have to be delivered from our own choices and decisions. Now, a portal. So I want to talk about a portal. When we talk about portals, it is important that you recognize a portal is an opening. It's an opening in walls or buildings and is used to control entry and exits. It is an entrance into a tunnel with an imposing appearance. That's what Revelation 4:1 says. I'm going to say it again. A portal is an opening in a wall or a building, and it is used to control entry and exits. Now, the question that I would ask you, right, as it pertains to a portal, if you think of yourself as a building or a house, right? The question I would ask you is, who have you given control? Who have you entrusted to gain access for entry and for exit? And this is important, you all. Listen, when I kind of was just really thinking about these portals and tunnels and the imposing appearances, a lot of times when we think about portals, or as I would say, these soul ties, right? These soul ties that we have with individuals, they are nothing but really portals. They're openings. And it is used to control entry and exit. Have you ever been in a place or a position? I was just having this conversation with some individuals, and we were just talking about the fact that when you are sexually intimate with individuals, you're giving them access, right? It's a doorway. It's an entrance into, because they are coming into you, right? And is the entry point, a place where a person or a thing enters something or somewhere, right? And it starts activity. But the portal says that it obtains control for entry and for exit. Now, I know that we on live and I'm going to be appropriate, but have you ever been in a place where you're not with a person anymore, but different situations can happen or occur? You hear the song, you smell the perfume or the cologne, and it does something to your body. It triggers some places in your body that you used to enjoy based on that individual. Why? Because there has been something that has come inside, right? Because that's what we've been talking about, doorways. It has been where we have given legal right for it to enter in. And what happens is there are deposits, you guys, that are left. Oh, somebody should drop that in the chat. There are deposits that are left, which is why it is difficult for soul ties. I was just talking to my best friend, and we were just having conversations just about these doorways and portals, and we were talking about, listen, I ain't been saved my whole life. I'm saved now, but I haven't been saved my whole life. And so, those situations where you can just be sitting and you think about a person and it quickens you a little bit. You be like, oh, wow, where that came from. Oh, that's a soul tie. Why? Because the door is technically still open. There's still an entry point. There's still a place where the person entered in. You gave it legal right. So what we have to do in times is that we have to be able to close portals and close doors. Because we already know that in Revelation 4:1, a portal is an opening in a wall or a building, and it is used to control entry and exit. And so a lot of times we are wondering why individuals have control over us in some ways, some areas, sexually, right? Have control over us. Or even, if you were to think about, our parents who we give and who we entrust over our lives, that we listen to the things that they say or the things that they tell us to do. It is control. It is an entry point. It is some things that have occurred. So then, you all, we have what we call gates. And so these gates is a passageway in a passenger that leads to a place for boarding. So a gateway or a passageway. So these are gates. It is a gateway or a passageway. And what it does is it leads to a place, or it is used for boarding. It is a temporary channel in a cell membrane through which substances diffuse into or out of a cell. That's a gate, a passageway, a gateway. Let me say it again. It leads to a place for boarding, or it's a temporary channel in a cell membrane through which substances diffuse into or out of a cell. That's a passageway, a gateway. Now, when I did a little more studying to look this up, the Greek word is phil, P-Y-I-L, file, and it is a crossing. And I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly for all you Greek scholars. It is a crossing. And so what is important to understand as believers are that the scripture which regards sin of our fathers, which was Exodus 20:5, it is nothing but the prerequisite or the legal right that has permission or consent to enter the doorway and portals at the appointed time. Now, why am I saying that? Now, one of the biggest things when we're talking about just some of these intergenerational traumas or generational curses, a lot of times these things happen because of situations that we experience, and then it is passed down to our children. I'm going to give you a prime example. If with my own situation, so because of trauma that I experienced as a child, it was very difficult for me to show or exhibit a touch or affection to my son. It was just extremely difficult because of things that happened to me in the past. Now, because of this, he is a grown man now, but it was difficult now for him to show or exhibit care, concern, love, all of these things to other individuals because of what happened to me. So when it talks about a gateway or a passageway or a channel or something that leads to boarding or a crossing, or the fact that in Exodus 20:5, it says that we have the sins of our fathers, what that is saying is because of things that I've experienced, now my children are experiencing what entered into my life. And so my son experienced not feeling love. So then what happened was now individuals that he would deal with or have interactions with, he would respond to them the same way I responded to him. And this actually started because I got molested at 7. So it now became a passageway. Oh, I hope y'all catching this. So now it became a passageway or a gateway. It now has crossed into the bloodline. Now my son is now experiencing something that I experienced by way of a gate. Oh, you guys gonna catch this. This is so good. Listen, when the Lord began to show me these things, I was so excited. Because in order for us to have or maintain deliverance, we have to be able to understand the importance of these entry points or things that are considered, everyone, doorways into our lives. Because of these things, it now has a level of control, which is deception. Oh, this is so good. This is so good. This is so good. I'm so excited. Listen, I promised I was going to only be on for 30 minutes, y'all, because I got on here late. But this is so good for me. It's so good. Listen, I'm just going to end here really quickly. And I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to think about this. I want you to ponder on this for next week when I come on. I want you to think about, what are some doorways? Or what are some entry points? What are some things, you know, my word is it, you guys, isolated trauma. What are the it's that you have given access to, that you have allowed to come into you? What are those things? What are the it's? What are the entry points? What are the gates? What have you now transferred in your lineage? What have you transferred in your household? What have you? Because again, we're talking about being delivered from choices and decisions. So I want you guys to think about that as we continue to dig a little bit deeper next week on this place of deception and the things that are considered doorways and entry points into our lives. Again, I appreciate you guys coming on. My name is Dr. Heather Henley. You know, I love to do deliverance hacks. I am always here roughly breaking up things that try to keep us stagnant or keep us locked down where we can't become the best versions of ourselves or be everything that we desire to be. So I want you guys to make sure you share this broadcast. And listen, if you want to be a blessing to the ministry, definitely you can DM me. You can send them a chat. You can do Cash App, which is Moments with Heather. And again, I want you guys to share this broadcast. I am so excited. Hey, sis, I know you had a whole a lesson tonight, but thanks for jumping on for a second. But again, I want to say thank you to everyone for coming on. And don't forget your homework assignment. I really want you to really think about this. I want you to think about these places of deception. I want you to think about the isolated traumas. And then I want you to really consider what these doorways are, or these entry points, or gates, passageways, gateways, these channels or crossings that you have given the ability to gain access into your lives. I will see you guys next week. I love you. And be sure to like and share this broadcast. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.